We continue on now with minor scales. The minor scale acts very similar to the major scale, and I should be specific here that when I'm talking about the minor scale in this slide, I'm talking about the natural minor scale. It will begin on a tonic pitch, contain 7 discrete pitches arranged in stepwise order, and it will also have a pattern of half steps and whole steps, with accidentals being used to modify notes when needed. However, it is in the arrangement of half steps and whole steps where things diverge, because there are 3 types of minor scales. We'll begin looking at the natural minor scale. There are 2 others we'll look at shortly. For the natural minor scale, the pattern is whole, half, whole, then whole, half, whole, whole, or WHW, WHWW. Let's take a look at the natural minor scale. So here is A minor. This is the natural minor scale without any accidentals in it. We start with A and then go up a whole step to B, then a half step B to C, then a whole step C to D, a whole step D to E, a half step E to F, a whole step F to G, and a whole step G to A. So here's the natural minor scale sound. We can, of course, transpose to different notes, in which case we'll need to use accidentals. If we start on F and then go up to G, that's a whole step. G up to A flat is a half step. A flat to B flat, a whole step. B flat to C, a whole step. C to D flat, a half step. D flat to E flat, a whole step. And E flat to F, a whole step. So here we have that F minor natural scale. And this will be the same if it's descending or ascending. A natural minor is the same going up as it is going down. Same with F minor or any other natural minor scale. Now, the scale degree names and numbers will be identical except for one. It's just the 7th scale degree in the natural minor scale that has a different name. Because it does not have the half-step relationship to the tonic that is so defining of the leading tone, it's referred to instead as the subtonic. Sometimes you will also hear the 6th scale degree in minor referred to as the lowered submediant, because when compared to the parallel major, that is the major scale with the same tonic note, it is a half-step lower. In A major, that F would be F sharp. And now this is F natural, the submediant. Sometimes you'll also hear that with the mediant as well. But in general, the only one that has that discrete difference that we're going to worry about is the 7th scale degree, which when lowered is the subtonic. Let's talk a little bit about minor key signatures and the circle of fifths. Just like the major keys, minor keys also follow a pattern around the circle of fifths, and the accidentals will appear in the same order as in the major scales. So minor and major keys which share a key signature are known as relative keys. So A minor appears at the top of the clock where C major appeared before, because they are relative. They sort of have the same genetic material, that is, the genetic material of 0 sharps or flats. A minor key also begins a minor third below the tonic of its relative major. So A is a minor third below C. You can also think of it the other way, that it's going to be the 6th scale degree of C major. So you can step down C, B, A, and find that and find that relative there. Conversely, you can step up from A minor 3 steps. A, B, C, or 3 notes. A, B, C, and then you'll have the relative major of that minor key. So as we go around, we see that the same pattern emerges. We'll start with the sharp keys. We go up a fifth to E, that's going to have 1 sharp, E minor. Up a fifth to B, 2 sharps, and we go around the clock and complete that until we get to A sharp minor, which has 7 sharps. Same, a similar principle to the major clock. We will, when moving in a counterclockwise pattern, go down by fifth and add 1 flat to each of the keys. So down a fifth from A is D, and that's going to have 1 flat in the key signature. Down a fifth from D is G, that will have 2 flats, and we continue adding flats. We now get to enharmonics. So B flat minor is going to be enharmonically equivalent to A sharp minor. We continue on until E flat, and then finally we reach A flat minor, which will have 7 flats. So, therefore, if one is given a key signature and asked to determine what minor key it represents, one can first determine what major key the key signature represents. Then B, identify the minor key related to that major key. So that's one strategy if we don't have this minor key circle of fifths memorized. So let's try that strategy out here. Now I do have the circle of fifths on the right hand side for us to check our work, but let's imagine that we didn't have that for a second. Here we have 1 sharp in the key signature, our top left example. 1 sharp, F sharp in the key signature. We know that that's the leading tone of G major. We know the last sharp in the key signature. We go up a half step, and then that's G major. Now we can figure out what minor key that could represent by going down a minor third. G down to E. So now we know that 1 sharp in the key signature represents E major. We can check that on our clock, and indeed we see 1 sharp is E minor, pardon me. Let's go on to 4 flats. We know that 4 flats, the major key is going to be A flat. We know that by looking at the second to last flat. Now, how can we find what minor key that represents? Well, we can remember to go down a third in the key from A flat. So A flat down to G down to F. And so that would be F minor, and we can check our work. Indeed, F minor has 4 flats. So there we go. We've got E minor, we've got F minor. Taking a look, we've got 3 flats in the next example. E flat is the key. E flat major is the key with 3 flats. We know that because it is the second to last key. And so a minor third down from E flat is C minor. So there we are, and we can check our clock, and indeed it is C minor with 3 flats. And lastly, our 2 sharps there. We know that C sharp, the last sharp, is going to be the leading tone in a major mode key. C sharp leads up to D. We can go to the 6th scale degree of D, D down to B, and that will be the relative minor. So that will be the key signature of B minor. If that is a lot to do, then just construct a circle of fifths clock, and you can refer to that, and that will help you on your way to memorizing those key signatures. So there are 2 other types of minor scales besides the natural minor, and it's perhaps easier to think of these scales as inflections of the natural minor. And by this I mean they will use the same key signature, but they'll have some inflected accidentals, some accidentals that are added. And the 2 types of scales are known as harmonic minor and melodic minor. The harmonic minor scale has 1 change when compared with the natural minor. That is, the 7th scale degree, or the subtonic, is raised 1/2 step to create a leading tone. So we get rid of that subtonic and we raise that by 1/2 step to become a G sharp, and that becomes the leading tone. It sounds like this. And here the name harmonic minor comes from the tendency to raise the 7th scale degree in certain harmonies, specifically dominant class harmonies. If I added an E and a B, we'd get a dominant class chord that wants to resolve to the tonic. This will also create the slightly unusual interval of the augmented second between the F and G sharp, between the 6th and 7th scale degrees. We'll talk more about intervals in another video. Let's turn now to the melodic minor scale. The melodic minor scale has an ascending form and a descending form, meaning that it has different inflections if it's going up or if it's going down. The name melodic minor comes from the tendency for individual lines, in other words melodies, to follow this intervallic pattern. In its ascending form, the melodic minor scale raises the 6th and 7th scale degrees, from what they normally are in the key signature by 1/2 step. Normally in C minor, we'd have a key signature that includes E flat, A flat, and B flat, and when put as a natural minor scale, sounds like this. However, in the melodic minor scale, we raise that 6th and 7th scale degree, leading upwards to create that motion of the leading tone that is similar to the harmonic minor, but getting rid of the augmented second, which is a little out of style for the common practice era, at least in melodies. So we have that going up, but going down, we use the natural minor form. So it reverts back to the natural minor when it's descending. So we raise those scale degrees 6 and 7 when ascending, and we put them in the natural minor form when descending. Let's talk about what we've talked about. In this presentation, we learned that a scale has 7 pitch classes arranged by step, with 1 repeated pitch class an octave above the starting pitch, in other words, the tonic. The pitches of a scale are referred to by specific scale degree names, which we will later see informs us regarding their function within music. Scales have interval patterns. The major scale has an interval pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and the natural minor scale has an interval pattern of whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. The minor mode also has 2 additional scale types or inflections: the harmonic minor, which has its 7th scale degree raised a half step, and the melodic minor, which raises its 6th and 7th scale degrees when ascending, and descending is identical to its natural minor form. Accidentals, or sharps and flats, can be used to create these interval patterns if we start on pitches other than A for A minor or C for C major. And key signatures can be used as shorthand for these patterns of accidentals, with keys and key signatures following the patterns based on the circle of fifths.